Somewhere in the Scottish Highlands right now, there stands an ancient stone fort built on a hill. Its walls did not crumble under a siege because they melted, having been heated to an extreme temperature that fused solid rock into glass. The people who built it remain a complete mystery. We have no idea how they generated impossible heat 2 millennia ago. Today we are exploring 12 ancient Scottish structures that experts cannot explain. We are ending with a coastal settlement older than the pyramids that vanished overnight. If you are drawn to history that does not add up, make sure to subscribe. Millions of people travel to Scotland every year to see Edinburgh Castle and Loch Ness. Once you look deeper into the glens and beneath the soil, you will find a landscape scarred by impossible prehistoric engineering. These places prove the textbook timeline of British history is missing a massive chapter. Let's start by going directly underground. Dig down into the soil of Angus, and you might find yourself crawling through a stone-lined tunnel. This passage stretches on in the dark, twisting through the earth until it leads absolutely nowhere. Call it the Carlungie Earth House. It is an Iron Age structure that archaeologists classify as a souterrain. The name Earth House implies that people lived in it, but the reality is much stranger because they definitely did not. What you are looking at is essentially an elaborate stone corridor buried in the earth. It twists around and ends in a small, completely dark chamber. Building this meaningless tunnel took an incredible amount of back-breaking manual labor. The architects had to excavate tons of dirt by hand. Then they dragged rock slabs down to line the walls. Next, they intricately roofed the tunnel over. Finally, they deliberately buried the entire thing again. Nobody understands why they bothered. Some researchers guess these were ancient refrigerators meant for food storage, keeping meat and grain cool over the summer. The problem with that theory is that the curving. Highly complex designs represent far too much effort just to keep grain fresh. The sheer physical labor required suggests something communal or deeply ritualistic. Whatever that sacred purpose was, it was eventually swallowed by the earth along with the curving stone tunnels. Carlungie is not the only Scottish location where the ground holds an impossible secret. Up in the Orkney Islands, the mysteries hidden in the depths get a little darker. Back in the 1920s, a heavy commercial threshing machine was being driven across an ordinary farm. Then the ground suddenly gave way, and the massive machine crashed right through the surface roof of a forgotten void. It cracked open what we now call the Rennibister Earth House. When brave locals finally climbed down into the pitch-black hole, they found another stone-lined underground passage similar to Carlungie. This dark corridor held a particularly grisly surprise. The small chamber at the end contained scattered human remains. That discovery initially seemed to solve the great mystery of these tunnels, but the truth crumbles when you look closer. Archaeologists confirm that Rennibister was never originally designed or intended to be an underground tomb. Burials from this period are incredibly rare in Scotland. Deliberately placing bodies in a cramped souterrain does not fit any known cultural pattern from that era. Therefore, the original planners clearly dug out the structure for one completely unknown reason. Generations later, a different group of people repurposed the dark, forgotten space to quietly dispose of their dead. It is a massive tunnel built for the living that the dead eventually stepped in and claimed. Those exact builders kept their heaviest secrets safely underground, while other ancient groups decided to leave their impossible monuments resting right out on the surface. Number 10. Nether Largie South Cairn. The famous Kilmartin Glen sits in the heart of Argyll. Its green valley floor contains over 800 ancient monuments packed within a tight 6-mile radius. This astonishing concentration of ruins makes it one of the richest and most complex prehistoric landscapes in all of Europe. You can literally stand in the middle of a grassy field and watch human history stretching out in every direction. The most prominent, undeniably baffling feature of the glen is a massive linear cemetery. This is not a scattered graveyard, but a perfectly straight line of 5 massive burial cairns. They include the famous Nether Largie South Cairn. This arrangement spans 3 miles across the uneven valley floor. All 5 imposing stone mounds are aligned south by southwest with absolute mathematical precision. The earliest of these graves dates back to between 3000 and 2500 BC. That means they were placed there before advanced surveying tools existed. The sheer overwhelming organizational effort required to line up massive stone structures across miles of rough terrain is genuinely staggering. This was not a random collection of convenient hillside graves. It clearly represents a centuries-long, highly dedicated project. They designed it to align an entire landscape to coordinates that only the ancient builders understood. The layout's massive scale definitively proves these isolated early communities shared a deep, unified ritual focus spanning generations. The mysteries of Kilmartin Glen certainly do not stop with just the burial cairns. What exactly happened next is even harder to explain. Just down that exact same linear alignment in Kilmartin Glen sit the ancient temple woodstone circles. Unknown people began dragging heavy rocks and placing stones here roughly 5 millennia ago to form circular gathering spots. For a full 2,000 years, the local communities kept returning to this exact spot. They updated, expanded, and ritually used the towering stone circles. It evolved into a deeply sacred site. This implies continuous, evolving ritual use spanning dozens of generations of ancient Scots. Then one day, they inexplicably stopped gathering. The regional groups did not just slowly drift away from Temple Wood as their cultural interests naturally changed. They deliberately hauled in tons of river cobbles. Next, they intentionally filled the active circles in. By burying the massive standing rocks, they consciously erased the entire site's function and wiped it off the cultural map. Everything resulting from centuries of dedicated human effort was purposely shut down, buried, and abandoned. We honestly have absolutely no clue why they walked away. Nobody knows what drove them to permanently enter the giant rock arrangement with much smaller stones before they left. It remains an abrupt, unexplained cultural shift, permanently frozen into the ancient landscape. We will see an even more complete and sudden abandonment later on our list. That one left an entire fully furnished village sitting completely empty. For now, we must leave the heavy stone monuments on the solid earth and look to the ones hiding in the water. Number 8. Loch Tay Crannog. Look out across the freezing waters of Loch Tay, and you will immediately see a lonely wooden roundhouse. It is built on a tiny island. This structure sits completely isolated right in the center of the dark water. You are looking at a crannog, a completely artificial island constructed directly in the middle of a Scottish lake. To create it, the ancient inhabitants gathered and piled tons of rocks onto the loch bed. They kept working day after day, year after year. They worked until an island of stone finally breached the choppy surface of the water. After the massive rock foundations settled securely into the mud, they erected a large timber structure squarely on top of it. The highly coordinated, grueling physical endurance needed to move that much stone into deep water solely by hand is almost impossible to comprehend today. Everyone who looks at a crannog asks why they made the incredibly difficult choice to construct it. Why expend such staggering physical labor to build an artificial island in freezing water, especially when you could just live comfortably on the dry lakeshore 50 yards away? Defense remains the most common guess among historians trying to explain the structure. Building a tiny timber outpost out there offers very limited protection. It also leaves you completely stranded, cut off, and surrounded if someone actually decides to attack. The extreme isolation highlights a baffling decision. This redefines how much difficult work early people were willing to exert just for a home. The true verified age of these strange water platforms is about to shatter the accepted historical timeline. For a very long time, leading archaeologists confidently believed crannogs were built roughly 20 centuries ago. Recent underwater archaeology missions in the remote deep lochs of the Outer Hebrides have proven that idea completely wrong. This new evidence is rewriting the established history books of ancient Britain. These distant, lonely artificial islands are actually over 5,000 years old. This impossible date predates Stonehenge by thousands of years. Before the Egyptians even thought about organizing labor for building massive pyramids, people in Scotland were already at work, moving massive amounts of rock into freezing lakes by hand to build artificial islands. This groundbreaking discovery rewrites our understanding of early prehistoric capabilities. The mystery escalates from wondering exactly why they built them to trying to figure out their complex social organization. They had to pull off massive marine engineering incredibly early in human history. We are discussing a level of planning, cooperation, and sophistication that simply was not supposed to exist yet in that era. If you are enjoying exploring these forgotten, mind-bending historical anomalies with us, take a second to hit the thumb up button below. It is time to swiftly move from ancient water dwellings to the incredibly towering structures of thick stone. Number 6. Telve. Travel deep into the remote mountains of the Highlands, and you will eventually find the towering ruins of Telve. This imposing structure is a broch, an uniquely Scottish building from the Iron Age. It looks quite a bit like the massive cooling tower of a decayed nuclear power plant. Brochs feature a highly complex, incredibly sturdy double-walled construction. A distinctly narrow gap separates the inner and outer layers of thick masonry. A steep stone staircase winds its way up through the pitch darkness trapped directly between them. This clever design makes the tower a brilliant piece of dry stone engineering, and it has survived for millennia. The real problem arises when you try to ascertain what the tower was actually used for. People often call them ancient castles, but that makes no logical sense once you realize they have no windows. They show no clear defensive capabilities. Building a massive, completely blind stone tower is a poor way to defend yourself from advancing attackers. Some researchers argue they were status symbols for proud local chieftains, showcasing regional power. Other experts think they acted as communal refuges during dangerous times. They could even have been sophisticated farmhouses to protect valuable livestock. The undeniable truth is that erecting a windowless double-walled tower requires immense architectural skill. We have absolutely no idea what they actually used that skill to achieve. Now let us look closely at an amazing example that somehow survived the harsh centuries almost perfectly intact. Out on a small windswept island in Shetland, the Mousa Broch stands proud. This structure is officially the tallest prehistoric building currently standing anywhere in Britain, while most other examples eventually collapsed into tragic piles of loose rubble long ago. Mousa has stood tall and virtually unchanged for 2 millennia. It rises 40 feet into the whipping wind, a silent, heavily imposing cylinder of thick, dry stone masonry. The massive walls are so solid that the brooding structure appears in several old Viking sagas. Runaway lovers famously used its impenetrable stone as a safe hideout. The fierce Vikings knew it as an ancient and mysterious fortress, and it was already considered a fading relic when Norse longships first arrived on the shore. Its sheer, unyielding survival defies the normal destructive passage of time and harsh weather. The strong people who hauled the rocks and engineered the double walls left no written records to explain themselves. They built something undeniably permanent and then vanished into the mists of history. This disappearance leaves both the later Vikings and modern archaeologists equally baffled by the towering structure. The solid stones of Mousa survived the centuries, but the structures of our very next location met an impossible, completely destructive force. Number 4. Dundedale. Sitting high on an exposed, windy hill near Ben Nevis rests the imposing fort of Dundedale. It was carefully built around 500 BC and reliably served as a Celtic outpost. Later, it became a sturdy Pictish citadel. When archaeologists finally hiked up and examined the surviving rocky remains, they realized the walls had not simply crumbled away over time. The thick stone enclosure had literally melted. Someone deliberately heated the heavy rock slabs to such extreme, unbelievable temperatures that the solid rock partially liquefied. The stones smoothly fused together into a thick glass. This destructive, transformative process is known in archaeology as vitrification. The intense, prolonged heat required to melt solid rock is so immense that early researchers were stumped. They even seriously proposed atomic blasts as the only logical scientific explanation for the unique damage. Modern archaeology offers a more grounded, yet no less baffling answer to the puzzle. Experts soon realized the defensive walls were deliberately and intentionally set on crackling fire. Back in the 1980s, a dedicated team conclusively demonstrated that aggressively packing the stone structure with a massive amount of dry timber and setting it ablaze could theoretically generate enough intense heat to fuse the rock. What remains fiercely contested is why anyone would want to do that. Were advancing, invading armies attempting to destroy the fort? Or were the original defending occupants intentionally setting their own protective walls on fire to solidify the loose stones into a stronger, unified mass? We do not know why they created that impossible blazing heat on a remote hillside. Our next ambitious builders decided to move the very earth itself. Way up on the lonely Orkney Islands, carefully set on a narrow strip of land positioned between two shimmering lochs, is the ring of Brodgar. It is a truly magnificent Neolithic stone circle that originally contained 60 standing monuments. It broadly spans over 100 meters straight across. Its sheer size makes it the third largest surviving stone circle anywhere in the British Isles. The tall stones themselves usually look deeply impressive, but what closely surrounds them forms the real, baffling anomaly at the site. A massive rock-cut ditch known as a henge tightly encloses the entire circular area. This deep, wide trench was not dug into soft, forgiving dirt. It was painstakingly, brutally excavated straight out of solid bedrock. Experts crunching the numbers estimate it conservatively took 80,000 man-hours to carve that wide ditch into the rigid rock using only fragile bone and crude stone tools. Further detailed geological analysis shows the heavy standing stones were painfully dragged from all over the scattered islands. They were not sourced conveniently from a local quarry. This stunning fact indicates a massive unified undertaking by many different communities who cooperated on an unbelievable scale to build something truly monumental. The high level of complex social organization required to successfully coordinate 80,000 man-hours of grueling labor, long before the Egyptian pyramids were ever built, remains inexplicable. Their surprising mastery of focused engineering extended far beyond just digging a very big ditch. Number 2. Maeshowe. Also located in Orkney, a large, distinctly grassy mound rises sharply from a completely flat plain. When viewed from the outside, the ancient structure looks exactly like a delightfully simple dirt hill. Once you cautiously pull open the door and step inside, you find a massive Neolithic chambered cairn. It was originally expertly built around 2800 BC. The delicate engineering lining the inside of the central chamber is astonishingly precise. A 5,000-year-old heavily corbelled roof perfectly shields the inner room from the weather without using a single supporting drop of mortar. The grand overriding mystery centers completely on its perfect, unbelievable, astronomical alignment. For just a few short days right around the winter solstice, the setting sun aligns flawlessly along the long entrance passage. It casts a single intensely bright beam of focused light down the dark tunnel to briefly illuminate the cold back wall of the central chamber. It acts like a glowing, inviting golden doorway, opening up to another world entirely. The complex architectural and precise astronomical planning required to achieve this exact alignment defies any easy modern explanation. It becomes even more impressive when considering the staggering fact that it was done without relying on precision metal tools or advanced written mathematics. 3,000 years after the original planners sealed it up against the dark, Vikings broke through the roof. They covered the inside walls with rough runic graffiti. The wandering Norsemen were simply defacing a masterful structure they did not begin to truly understand. Now we finally come to the ultimate Scottish anomaly, an entire society sadly frozen in stone. Number 1. Skara Brae. Sitting isolated on the windy coast of Orkney lies Skara Brae, a perfectly preserved Neolithic stone village. Like many other entries on this list, this forgotten town is much older than the towering Egyptian pyramids. The tight settlement consists of 8 very clustered houses. They are linked together intimately by an elaborate, winding series of completely covered stone passageways. It was entirely hidden beneath rolling sand dunes until a particularly massive storm blew through in 1850. The fierce winds stripped the thick grass away and revealed the sturdy stone roofs underneath. The high preservation level inside the homes is genuinely astonishing. Because usable wood was extremely scarce on the rocky islands, the practical inhabitants decided to build their heavy furniture entirely from solid stone slab rock. You can walk straight through the tight houses today and clearly see stone dressers, cold beds, and central hearths standing exactly where they were placed 5 millennia ago. The real, enduring mystery is why the entire elaborate village is completely empty today. Sometime around the year 2500 BC, everyone living there simply vanished without a trace. They left their useful daily tools, their precious jewellery, and intricately carved stone balls placed right where they sat on the stone display shelves. There are absolutely no signs of conflict, a sudden attack, or any kind of violent struggle in the homes. Researchers debate if they fled a sweeping plague, a massive choking sandstorm, or a sudden, devastating change in the local island climate. Whatever chased them away happened incredibly fast, and they willingly abandoned their most valuable, hard-to-replace possessions. The groups who masterfully built these prehistoric Scottish structures possessed lives, engineering skills, and societies far more incredibly advanced than textbook history usually admits or accepts. Their sudden, completely unexplained disappearance leaves us today with only silent standing stones that speak far louder than any written historical record. If you strongly want to see more hidden, forbidden history, make sure you hit subscribe, and we will see you soon in the next video.